Should the Pittsburgh Steelers consider a quarterback change on top of their quarterback change? A replacement to Aaron Rodgers' replacement and a glimpse at the future, and really their only option outside of the 2026 NFL draft class that tells you maybe there's somebody that'll be here for longer than a year, 2 years, and could actually end the veteran carousel that the Steelers have found themselves in, that is quickly turning to, well, let's be honest, purgatory. It's getting worse and worse by the year. And Aaron Rodgers is fun and keeps the window open and the Super Bowl door alive. But at the same time, the Steelers and their entire fan base know and recognize that at some point, you have to find the next Big Ben. You have to find your own Aaron Rodgers. And they may have that. They may not have that. But the only way that they get to find out is if they try. So, with the window open, with the possibility in front of them, should they try? What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to another episode of Steelers to Go, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Before we get going, hit that like button. Can't thank you enough for everything that it does for this channel. I come to you every morning, Monday through Friday. A little bit of news, a little bit of analysis. Today we're talking Aaron Rodgers out for the Pittsburgh Steelers, most likely. That's the sense right now in Pittsburgh, is that Aaron Rodgers is not going to play for the Steelers in Week 12 against the Chicago Bears. He wants to play. He desperately wants to play. The 41-year-old quarterback probably gets one more shot at the Chicago Bears, and he wants to take it. He wants everything to do with Chicago, the city that he says that he owns and has said for years. It is the rival that, yeah, the Lions are great. Yeah, the Vikings are great. He wants his shot, his last look at the Chicago Bears to remind everybody just how good he is against the Chicago Bears. I get it. It's like if Ben missed his last game against the Browns. Wouldn't be fun. Nobody would be happy about it. And Ben would be doing everything in his power to be out on that football field and playing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Aaron's going to try to do the same. But there's a sense that he's not going to play this week. It's a 50-50 shot from what Ian Rappaport is reporting, but you got Jerry Dulac believing that he will not play in Week 12. To be honest with you, I'm keeping an open mind until I see him on or off a practice field for the next 3 days, because all it takes is him showing up on Friday, taking a couple of snaps and saying, this is good enough, and then boom, he's out there on Sunday against the Bears. And if that's the case, it would not surprise anybody. But if it's not, if he is not out there with the team on Sunday in Chicago at Soldier Field, where do the Steelers go? Because Mason Rudolph is the easy answer. He's the guy that goes out there, and he's 29 years old. He's a veteran. He's got a winning record in the NFL. You brought him in to be your spot starter. It makes a ton of sense. And Mason Rudolph is the easy answer, because Mason Rudolph is the guy that can win you 2 or 3 games in a row, that could come in here and go to Chicago and beat the Bears and keep your season alive and your AFC Hope title in front of you and the whole nine. Mason Rudolph gives you exactly what you need, as we saw on Sunday against the Bengals. When he comes in, there's no difference. You don't see anything change. You see the offense operate as it was operating already, which is exactly what you want your backup quarterback to be doing. That's exactly how a backup quarterback should operate. And that's the success, the exact success that your backup quarterback should have throughout the entire season. When called upon, nothing changes. There is no drastic turn to the playbook, and he comes in here and he executes. That's what Mason does well. That's why Mason is a successful backup quarterback, one of the best backup quarterbacks in my eyes in the NFL. The easy answer, if the Pittsburgh Steelers are just looking for a win in Chicago, is to go with the guy that they believe is going to keep things consistent, because consistency wins in the NFL. But what if they're looking for a spark? What if they want to get that opportunity to see the future? And what if this is the only opportunity Will Howard will ever have to showcase that future? Because right now, whether you want to admit it or not, depending on how big of a fan you are in Will Howard, which people are massive fans of Will Howard, and I understand why, the Steelers' game plan internally, this is not me, this is internal, is still to draft a quarterback in the first or the second round of the next draft or two. It's either 2026 or 2027, but their eyes are on the future. And I know that as soon as or as recently as a week ago, I had a conversation with somebody in that building, and the game plan remains the same. It is, we want a quarterback in 2026 or 2027. They still want Aaron Rodgers to return in 2026. And they look at it as, if we draft somebody, he gets a year to learn behind Aaron Rodgers. That's awesome. And I get it. I get the argument is, well, Will Howard gets to learn behind Will Howard for a year. I understand that argument. I do. I'm just telling you what the Steelers think internally and how they are viewing the situation, whether it's right or wrong. So, with an opportunity here in week 12 against the Chicago Bears, maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers could take advantage of what could be the only opportunity they ever give Will Howard, the only shot to ever showcase himself in a starting capacity early enough in his career to prove that he is something special. Because if you showcase that you're something special in year 3 or 4 or 5, nobody cares. You're past your prime. It's already over. That's what everybody will tell you. If you do it as a rookie, 6th round pick or not, well, that changes the whole course of the Pittsburgh Steelers, their future, and the right now. Go ask the San Francisco 49ers. They're a great example. And chances are Will Howard doesn't turn into the next Tom Brady. I get it. I want to keep the hope alive too, but chances are the odds are stacked heavily against him. But he has had all season to learn from Aaron Rodgers. He did look pretty okay during training camp. And maybe the Steelers do get an opportunity to look at him. Not saying that they will. I truly believe that the easy answer is Mason Rudolph, and that the Steelers are well aware that they will go with the easy answer in Mason Rudolph over Will Howard. But this is a hypothetical. Should they? Truthfully, they should see who's better. That's what they should do, because Mason Rudolph is a quality spot starter, and that's your bar. You need to be able to win this game against the Bears because our season is very much so alive. Our AFC North title is still in front of us. We are not chasing anyone. We are just chasing something. Okay? Is Mason the guy that looks better, more comfortable, more accurate, more able to throw and work this offense than Will Howard? I have no idea, because I've never gotten to see Will Howard play a game in the NFL with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this week, why not just send him out there during practice and see what one looks better? Maybe it's Mason Rudolph and the easy answer is in front of us, and there it is. No questions asked. Will doesn't look good. And we all know, because everybody calls me out on it, that I will be very straightforward in what I see from Will Howard on the practice field, because I do believe the odds are stacked so heavily against him as a starting quarterback that I find that vision hard to see. However, if Will looks good, there is nothing that should be holding the Steelers back. Because why wouldn't you see? If you trust that Will Howard could go out there and win a football game for you, if you trust that your rookie 6th round quarterback can go out there and beat the Bears, there is no other reason to start anybody but him unless it's Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron's not going to play and your choices are Mason Rudolph or Will Howard, we don't even have a conversation to have. It is the guy who has a future in Pittsburgh as a starter, not the guy who has a future as a backup in Pittsburgh. There's two totally different outcomes here. And the Steelers should acknowledge that. I don't know if they're going to. Step one is to see if Aaron Rodgers is actually going to play, but it makes sense to acknowledge that and to see if Will could actually prove himself in practice. You don't want a full-blown quarterback competition. You want a day, maybe 2 days max before you pick who's going to go out there. And Will's going to have to fight from behind. But Will's a national champion and a guy who's in the NFL for a reason. So let's see what's up. This is not Justin Fields versus Will Howard, where you hope that the former first-round pick still has all that talent. This is Mason Rudolph. You know who Mason Rudolph is, and you know the peak of Mason Rudolph. You don't know anything about Will Howard. And again, odds are stacked against him. I would not bet that a 6th-round rookie quarterback goes into Chicago and wins. I would not bet that Will Howard turns into the next Tom Brady. I do not believe either of those things are going to happen. But I do believe that the Steelers are in veteran quarterback hell right now, and they have been for years. And it is time to just try everything and not ignore any possibility. Will Howard right now, in week 12 of the 2025 season, is the Steelers' only real possibility to find their next quarterback. And maybe, just maybe, this is the only opportunity they'll ever give him. So hopefully they at least try and see what they got, even if it's in a practice field where there's real competition and he's got a real shot to prove himself. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of Steelers to Go, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, find all my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. I'll be back later for the flagship show. Until then, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and enjoy another beautiful day in the bird. Peace.